name is Chip Shields. I represent North and Northeast Portland in the Oregon State Senate. I am also the chair of the General Government, Consumer, and Small Business Protection Committee. And today, we heard several bills that would finally end the exemption that the insurance industry enjoys from being subject to Oregon's Unfair Trade Practices Act. The Unfair Trade Practices Act is the state's consumer and business protection statute prohibiting fraud in business transactions, and this is very important. Insurance is the only line of business that is exempt from the Oregon Unfair Trade Practices Act. Part of what that means is that the Attorney General is precluded from suing insurance companies that engage in fraud. The Attorney General cannot sue insurance companies that engage in fraud. In our hearing, we heard from big businesses like Zidell, small businesses, medical providers, and consumers who told us that their insurance companies are driving them to bankruptcy. And if your insurance company blatantly won't pay the reimbursement for a big premium that they're supposed to cover, that's wrong. It's time the legislature protects small businesses and consumers by removing the special treatment, the exemption that insurance enjoys from being subject to the state's Unfair Trade Practices Act. Representative Holvey.
Good morning. Paul Holvey, State Representative from District 8 in the southern Lane County area. I'm chair of the Consumer Protection and Government Efficiency Committee on the House side, where we heard a virtual identical bill to the one that was heard this morning in the Senate. It was House Bill 3160. Senator Shields has made some great points about this, and we really look at this in the world of the consumer's eyes and the trouble that they have for collecting the benefits from policies that they pay for. It's really troubling to understand that consumers really don't have any advocates, or it's very hard to have advocates, especially legal representation, in trying to collect the benefits that they pay for. It's just time for Oregon to follow 36 other states and take away this exemption from the UTPA that the insurance industry enjoys. No other industry enjoys the same sort of exemption in Oregon. They claim that they're highly regulated, and it's true, they are regulated under the insurance division, but so are a lot of other industries in this state. They're highly regulated, the financial industry, the construction industry. We all have a lot of regulations that we live under, but that doesn't mean they should be exempt from Oregon's law that protects consumers. They ought to be able to have representation and challenge the insurance industry when they are not able to collect the benefits that they deserve. They shouldn't be forced into a rigorous amount of appeals, going through court cases and exhausting their financial resources to try to collect what is truly a benefit that they've paid for. We think it's time that the insurance industry fall under the unlawful trade practices in Oregon. Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to share my story. I was a customer with an insurance company, and my name is David Killian. In 1994, a major storm hit the Oregon coast. We live in Warrenton, Oregon. A major portion of our roof blew off. I called our agent. He asked if I knew any contractors or whatnot where we could try and patch it real quickly, and he would get an adjuster down. We did that, and the adjuster came down, and he offered us $3,000 on the spot, take it or leave it. I'd already had contractors trying to write bids, and they were coming in around $22,000. The insurance company refused to pay. I was forced to hire an attorney. We went to legal arbitration, and we won. The insurance company appealed it. So we had to wait. There were major stains coming in the house. The house was developing a bad odor. We went to, we were preparing for jury trial, that's right, and another major storm had hit. And a lot of water came into the system then and down into the walls. They cut holes. There's a lot of black mold. My wife had developed asthma. We went to first trial, we won that. And we had another claim. The insurance company sued us for the second claim. Then we had to countersue and go through another jury trial in Clapsa County. We won that. This whole ordeal took over 4 years to resolve. And I just came up to testify in hopes that the insurance companies should be held accountable so they don't treat their customers in this sort of a matter. Thank you.
Angela Martin with Economic Fairness Oregon, a nonprofit consumer advocacy organization. Much has already been said, and I won't repeat that. I want to thank David for traveling all the way here. We heard in testimony that if this law were to pass, the insurance company claims the sky would fall. Well, for the last 4 years, the sky was falling on David when he submitted a lawful claim for damages to his roof for a policy he had bought and paid for a home that he was making his mortgage payments on. And they refused for 4 years to make good on their promise. He's not alone. Too many consumers faithfully make their insurance payments, and their insurance company profits off of the delay and deny tactics that drag these cases into court, back out of court, because it's easier to fight and cheaper to fight than it is to pay. Oregon's Unlawful Trade Practices Act is the cornerstone of consumer protection. And as you've heard, insurance is the only industry exempt from that law. There are other heavily regulated industries that are subject to our UTPA. Banking, very complex financial arrangements. They're also regulated by another agency. They're subject to that law. It's time that insurance, perhaps one of the most important products that we buy, our economic security depends on the insurance. The state compels us to buy insurance. Our state laws should protect us for the performance of those policies. Thank you.
And from the healthcare provider perspective, I wanted to bring up Cathy Domingo.
My name is Cathy Domingo, and as Senator Shields said, I am from a healthcare perspective. I am a speech pathologist by training. I work for a small company that is independently owned. We provide medical rehabilitation services to persons with chronic pain and acquired brain injury. We have a very low margin of profit. Every dime we have coming to us, we have contracts that were signed in good faith in order to receive payment for the services that we provide. I have to employ additional people, which is at an additional cost to us, to make sure that we are able to collect the money that we are due for the services that we do provide, and we are contractually obligated to be paid for. We have claims that are some more than a year old that we're still trying to get paid on. The extra dollars that it takes us to collect that money is money that could be going to provide patient care. I know of some of my peers around the country, around the state, who, because of insurance reimbursement issues and because of issues like this, they've either had to lay off professional services or completely shut down their practices. In rural areas, this can mean critical access problems for people with, particularly people with kids who have special needs. If there's not a speech therapist to help them learn how to communicate in that community, or a physical therapist who's there to help them learn how to walk, that's access those kids don't have to those critical services, and that's additional cost to the families in order to get them to those needed services. Enforcing the laws that are on the books is already there, is necessary. This gives added protections to the providers who are trying in good faith to provide services to the people who need it. Thank you.
That concludes the formal part of the press conference. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
I know there are various proposals. This question is for the legislators, but would this empower the Department of Justice to sue, or this also empower consumers and businesses to sue under the Unlawful Trade Practices Act?
The short answer is both. This would enhance the individual's ability to have a private right of action, and it would also allow the Attorney General to sue insurance companies that engage in fraud. Right now, the Attorney General is 100% prohibited from suing insurance companies that engage in fraud. These bills will address that.
There's nothing
Chris?
under common law that the Attorney General can't sue. We talked about breach of covenants, any of that stuff that the insurers brought up.
No, the Attorney General cannot go after an insurance company.
I believe your committee heard similar bills 2 years ago, and they did not advance. So, what do you think has changed that will allow this legislation or similar legislation to move into session?
I've learned never to underestimate the power of the insurance lobby, but what I can tell you is that I'm not sure how the votes will play out in this chamber, but what I can tell you is that people outside of this chamber have had enough, and that this idea is wildly popular. That if you ask everyday voters, do you think the Attorney General should be able to sue insurance companies that engage in fraud, it is off the charts popular. You'll notice that one of the bills, 512, also I'm sorry, it was 512 or 513, I'd have to double check, includes a referral to the people. We hope that we will not have to go down that road now or in the future, but at some point, if we don't address everyday people's insurance concerns, their valid concerns about getting proper claims paid, proper reimbursement, the people will have the final say on this. Chris?
I think the representative from Standard Insurance mentioned that Governor Kulongoski had opposed this as insurance commissioner.
That was the first I've heard of that, so I'll let Governor Kulongoski speak for himself.
Does the insurance division have any stance on these bills? Have they taken a stance in any committee testimony on this?
No, you're right. They haven't taken a stance. I know in the past they have resisted this, but at the end of the day, the Department of Consumer and Business Services and the Insurance Division serve the staff there, or at least the heads of the agency serve at the pleasure of the governor. I have not heard any indication that the governor opposes these bills. Thanks, everybody.